Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Liberian Dream. We're here again, another beautiful Sunday, wherever you are in the world. My name is Leo Nupolu Lupele Johnson, and I'm here with the Liberian Dream series. Today, we have a very interesting topic in store for you. Thank you for joining. All of you who have joined, say hello, say hi, so we can know that you are there. But we're going to be talking about the Liberian Constitution today, something very close to my heart, because I think it lies at the very foundation of where we find ourselves as a nation and why we all keep struggling to understand why we are where we are and how we're going to navigate our way from there. Let me start by telling you this, a very simplistic history of the Liberian Constitution. Simple, right to the basics. Before people started to arrive in Liberia in the 1800s, around 1822, there were already systems of governance in what is now called Liberia. And this is where we refuse to acknowledge what the problem is. Liberia as it exists, or Liberia, what was Liberia before the 1820s, was a place that existed with very strong and unique systems of governance, the way people lived, the culture of the land, the way people related with each other, what was considered authority and what was not. In the 1820s, when our brothers and sisters who have been enslaved in the United States and other places were returning to the African continent, they also came with a different system and understanding of governance. Now, you have to remember, those days, they had lived on under conditions that were not proper for any human being to even live when they were treated as slaves. So what they understood was this twisted logic that the only way that anybody could get ahead was to suppress or subject your fellow human being to inhumane situations to be able to make progress. You cannot ignore that. You cannot avoid that narrative, unfortunately, because that's what they were exposed to in the United States and other places that they found themselves for sometimes generations. So they got told by the American who were then slave owners that the only way you could amass economic prosperity and wealth and the understanding of what authority looks like was this twisted logic of what was then in the US that was being considered as a system of governance, treating other human beings as slaves. So when they came, 1847, when they set up what is now called Republic of Liberia and brought in a constitution, this constitution was largely designed to protect their interest, the elite few, maybe around 300 families. So an entire constitution was written that was supposed to govern a nation as diverse as what Liberia was now. And then they were only written to protect the interests of about 300 people. And that is the constitution that denied women right to vote. You know what happened in the United States? Do you see the similarity? The constitution that started to talk about to vote, you must own real property. When did they own real property? When they came from the United States and native people arranged with them, made arrangements for them to be able to live on the land. Now, they were writing a constitution that would ensure the remaining in power. They were writing a constitution that would ensure it will always protect their interests. It will always ensure that they had absolute control over the wealth of what was now called Republic of Liberia. Now, watch that trend. They were writing a constitution that ensured that it was a one-party state, that only the true wing party of the Republic of Liberia was going to be the only party competing with itself in our political space. Now, watch the trend. That continued. 1847, suppressing people, majority of the population of the country was subjected to inhumane conditions, just as we saw in the United States on the slave plantations. Because guess what? They were implementing what they knew and what they understood, right? They were implementing the system of economics that they knew, which meant suppress everybody, protect the wealth for yourself and your children, and ensure that it remains within your grips. Don't open it up to allow other people to participate, because then you will have to compete with them and you may not be able to do better than they do, right? So let's look at what happened. That went through chewing party over 100 years. In 1980, the military coup happened, right? When the Bacchus Matthews, the Amos Claudius Sawyer, the Ellen Johnson Sirleafs of the world, the H. Bremer Families of the world said this was inhumane. We cannot allow our country to marginalize the majority of our people, which was mostly then referred to as natives, right? Think about it. You think about the West Points, the Loking Town of the slums. These places became what they are today as a result of the children of native people who were suppressed in the countryside when the lamb coals of the world were operating, were suppressed to only working in the mines, were suppressed to only being house help and housemaids for the then elite class. When their children fled and decided that we need to break this cycle of poverty over our family, came to what is Monrovia because they wanted to go to school, because they saw that this was the same school that the elite children went to be able to say they were better than the native people children. So they too wanted to do that. They came to school, went to University of Liberia. Some of them came up smarter than anybody. Some of them scored the highest grades, the highest honors you could think about. And when they graduated, guess what? The elite system of the day still denied them an opportunity to participate in their own economy, still denied them an opportunity to be able to get a job, even though they were very qualified than most of the children of the then elites. So what did it do? Imagine earning a university degree when you have left the countryside and come over to the city to get an education, spend 4 or 5 years at the University of Liberia, toiling, right? And then you finally came out with flying colors, and then you had to go back to West Point and live in the slums. You had to still go and be a fisherman. You have to still go back to Logantown and live in the slums, because the elite of the day said, regardless of how smart you were, regardless of how educated you were, as long as your last name was not a certain name, as long as you were not the son or the daughter of a certain class, you were not to be allowed to participate, because then you might just outcompete them. And outcompeting them means you might just also become wealthy, economically prosperous. And then that means you might just be fortunate enough to become the president or an influential person, which would then erode their control and grip over power. But fast forward to 1980 or 1979 to 80. The military coup occurred, right? The True Party was overthrown by a bunch of, called them native at the time, right? That's what it was called, who had been the one on the other side fighting for the two-party system, or more than one, for a multi-party democracy, or who were fighting to unshackle the majority of the population from under the pressures of the elite and economic devastation that have been brought on them. But before even we get there, you have to remember, in 1847, basically what happened was the Constitution of the United States was photocopied. Everywhere there was the United States of America, it was erased, and Liberia was put in place. So don't get me wrong, most constitutions are designed in reference to others, but it is a gross disservice, injustice for our forefathers and brothers and sisters who were part of formation of Liberia, Republic of Liberia, telling us that they were so brilliant that they wrote the Constitution of Liberia, when the truth is it was a photocopied constitution from it wasn't even designed after that of the United States. It was basically replicated. The Constitution of the United States of America was taken, and I'll be literal, erased wherever there was United States of America and put Republic of Liberia. And there's many references beyond even just the Constitution. Let's go to the pledge. Let me tell you the pledge of the United States of America and tell you the pledge of allegiance of the Republic of Liberia. You tell me the difference. I'm going to read it. The pledge of allegiance of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That is the pledge of allegiance of the United States of America. Now let me read to you the pledge of allegiance of the Republic of Liberia. I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And these people had the audacity to put their name to it and say they wrote it. Yeah, they actually referenced Henry's as being the one that wrote it. So basically, instead of sitting down when we came to Liberia in a nation and say, you know what, let's look at the interests of our people, let's look at the example of the United States Constitution, let's come up with something that makes sense for us, for all of us, and not just a small portion of us. No, we photocopy the people document. And that's the reason why the Constitution of Liberia does not make sense, and it will never make sense until we can get to a place of developing something, right? That makes sense, of developing something that is intentional about who it protects, that is intentional about whose interest it is serving. We're wasting our time. You can keep patching it all over the place. You're wasting time. But let's take this one step further. In 1980, when the coup occurred and the new wave of elites came into being, what did they do? set up a military government, suspended the constitution. And then 1986 brought the likes of Emma Claudia Sawyer and Pierre Brown Boo, to come and rewrite the Liberian constitution, because they had rightly identified that was the root cause of the problem. Guess what? Then they told these people, you must write in this constitution that those of us who have now committed some heinous atrocities, executed people, murder people, I care less what your justification was. You can't be the judge and the jury at the same time without any proper trial. Killed people, spilled the blood of people all over the place. They told people right in our constitution that we can never be prosecuted. We can never be held accountable for the crimes we are committing now, even though we said it was because of the same crimes that we came to overthrow this government. But now we are committing it, but we need you to put in the constitution that nobody can come after us. Right? That's what they wrote. And so you think about what else they wrote in. So basically, they did not create a new constitution. They took the 1847 constitution and changed everything they wanted to change to protect this new class of elite people. So what I'm trying to tell you is that in the history of the Republic of Liberia, there has never been a time that a constitution was ever written genuinely in the interest of the population of Liberia. It has always been, the two attempts has always been to protect a small elite class of people. The True Wing Party time, they protected the elite class of the True Wing Party. The PRC time, they took it, changed it around to protect the elite class of the PRC. And the PRC stands for the People Redemption Council. You know that. So now, what is more painful? Let's fast forward this stuff to 2021. What is more painful is that most of the people who sat in a room and participated in this gross injustice, and we tend to forgive them because they were under the barrels of the gun. Let's be fair. They were under the barrels of the gun. The military told them, you do this or you know what will happen. But today they are passing around boasting that we are signatory to the 1986 Constitution. Instead of them being apologetic to the nation and telling people, say, that constitution we wrote is a problem, is a fraud. We were coerced. We were forced. So let's go back and change it. We wrote it. We are telling you that it was not properly done. It does not serve the best interest of this nation. No, they are passing around and boasting. We are signatory to the 1986 Constitution. Our name, they are wetting wordplay. The people think you have photocopied in 1986, you're taking, you made it worse to decide to protect the new elite of poor people, the new poor people who came and fell out because other people have become rich from corruption. They too, that were their time to get rich, so they would change the constitution too to find ways to enrich themselves. An elite class, a new elite class. That's what happened. The progressive people, when they came, they were the new elites. So none of them today, I haven't heard any of them come up to say that constitution we wrote in 1986, that we wrote it under the coercion of the guns. We were not given the freedom to sit down and properly think through a constitution that will serve the best interest of everybody in Liberia. And then you wonder why justice is too expensive for most people in Liberia. You wonder why justice is for sale. You wonder why the constitution said we got a dual legal system, a customary system and a formal judiciary system. But all lawyers are not mandated to learn what customary law is. And they tell you our people in the country that are primitive people. They tell you they are country people. They don't know anything. Yeah, the country people in the interior, they have an understanding that they're not supposed to put in the plastic and throw it over the zinc. The Queen people in Monrovia, the elite, who say they live in Monrovia with a big mansion there, they're not able to advise their children that they're raising that they're not supposed to put in the plastic and throw it over the zinc. The elite people in Monrovia will live in the stench of garbage. They're cooking right here and they put the poo to the same garbage site that right next door to them, they put the garbage there. But you go up interior, you go to some of our villages, despite their poverty, sanitation is at its peak. You breathe better air. And this is the same thing we've been doing to ourselves. Let's get to the bottom of this. Never in the history of Liberia. So today, we got a military swearing oath to a constitution that is to protect the new elite. And most of them are still around, by the way. None of them have been sincere, ego, or honest to us to say, you know what? I am a participant to the writing of that constitution. It was not done well. We were put under the barrel of the gun and told what to write. We did not do it out of our intellectual ability. We did not do it based on a survey of going around the country, from village to village, from town to town. We did not write that constitution soliciting the views and the interests of our people. We did not write that constitution understanding what is the role of our people who do not intend to come pretend like American people in Monrovia, our people who just want to live in their villages and make the farms and feed their family, be economically viable, self-sufficient, and healthy. What is their role? How does this constitution serve their interests? They didn't do that. Then you're passing around today and you're telling all in our schools, telling our children, you have the audacity to tell them we should make your lords over us because you're signed to a fraudulent document, to a document that was done under the barrel of the gun. You want justice? Let's stop there, because that is the very foundation of the nation. Let's be honest with ourselves. Don't take my word for it. If there's anything I'm saying here that is not true, that is not accurate, please debunk it. Debunk it. I just read for you the Pledge of Allegiance. How can we be so dishonest to ourselves? And then when small things happen, that the same people you're telling us that we must go back to solve the nation's problem. These same people that don't have the simple decency to admit to us that doing the PRC that 1986 Constitution was written under the coercion and the barrels of the gun to say we need to go back to this document. Because this document was never written in the honesty that it should be written in. It was only written to protect the interests of the new elites. And today, that the document you're peddling around all over the place, our legislature. We got lawyers in our legislature. They will not tell us this truth. So the Liberian Constitution is a contradiction of itself. It makes no sense. It serves only the interests of about less than 20% of the country. That's the reason why in Liberia, over and over, only certain kind of people you can see go to court. That the reason over and over when people in our country stood and said because they put the country devil outside in the Bapolu election, it was illegal. The country devil does not have place in our elections. Let me shock you. The country devil has jurisdiction in our elections because Liberia is a dual legal system, customary law, and our formal judicial system. So in the absence of our formal judicial system, where there is no Liberian National Police around, where the Ministry of Justice does not have a presence, guess who takes preeminence? The country devil. The same way the Ministry of Justice would have seized the ballot box is the same way when law and order broke down and there was no police around to restore calm. The native people put the country devil outside, and guess what? Calm was restored. And the country devil seized the ballot box. Yes, we can debate about it being right or wrong. That's not my argument. My argument is it was nothing wrong with it. The country devil has jurisdiction. And that is what happened. When you sit there, we all sit there and dismiss the majority of our population that still live under customary law. Instead of developing it and evolving it so that it makes sense with where we are, we pretend like we don't know it there is there. We run away from it. We want to be everything else except ourselves. That's what happens. And let me tell you today, the country devil, the customary laws, the traditional systems, they're not going anywhere. There is nothing you can do to it. More than 100 years of true party suppression did nothing to the traditional system. They stay intact. War, almost 2 decades of war. You're still fighting to put your formal governance system together. The traditional system continue running like nothing happened. If you were smart, despite all your disagreement with it, you want to understand why is this thing so structured, orderly, and it's so strong and resilient that no matter what you throw at it, it just tends to come back. You ever not hear they say war start in a village because one chief supposed to take war for another chief and the other chief overthrow? No, it happens orderly. You don't even know how it happens. They don't even tell you. Yeah, it happens. Nobody else said that. Y'all say the poorer society, our traditional society, Senate society, that bush thing because they can do female genital mutilation. When last you ever engaged in helping to solve the problem? Look, let me tell you, we will not throw away our cultures and our traditional systems because of practices that are unacceptable in it. No, we will all work hard. We need to work with our native people to try and tell them why certain practices we can't do anymore because of what we've learned now, because of what we've come to discover of how harmful it is. So those of you who sit in there and think we can throw away our culture and our tradition, I got news for you. And by the way, don't make it look like about one person. I care less where you come from. Whether you came from Barbados doing 1800s or your people came from America or Jamaica, I don't care. If you settle in Liberia and you choose to be a Liberian, then you make up your mind. You must accept us for who we are and you must be willing to be one of those because you are a Liberian. If you don't choose to be a Liberian, that's your right. But you can't be Liberian, then you say you must look like American. You won't be Liberian, but you won't pretend like you're Ghanaian. You won't be Liberian, you won't pretend like you're Sierra Leonean. Hold them when we talk about something in our country. Look at the Ghanaian, they're way in front of us. That will stop you from working on yourself to go in front of you. You won't jump over yourself to be like the Ghanaian, be the way they are. No. You must accept yourself. Embrace yourself, accept your story. And here's our story. We were lied to in 1847 that people got together and wrote Constitution. No. The story American Constitution erased where there was United States of America and Port Republic of Liberia, and they didn't touch anything else. They stole the American Pledge of Allegiance and erased the United States of America and put Liberia there. They stole the flag from Texas. The old decommissioned retired Texas flag. They took it and then they lied to all. The red stand for the blood, the scar stand for this. Wordplay, nothing. That lie. All that is made up story. No blood was spilled for the independence of Liberia. Nobody spilled blood. We never had an independence war. Y'all don't lie to us. That whole flag story is made up. Tell us, say you like the style of the flag. You look at the Texas flag, what he said you like it, so you took it, you cap it, you brought it. But don't lie to us. That whole story about that flag, that what is Susanna Louise then, Mandela Nipo then, you're not lie to all these fairy tales that no way nobody can really prove it. There's no iota of proof. Une favor all of y'all who came at a certain class and certain elite that you're a favor. For what reason? So what did we do to y'all in 2021? You're still repeating this stuff where all of y'all can Google and see the plagiarism between the Liberian Constitution and American Constitution, where we all can Google and see the Pledge of Allegiance. You're still lying to us. Let's accept who we are. Let's accept and acknowledge that you all lied to us. And those of you who have been perpetuating that, you're not part of it, but you continue to perpetuate it, then you are part of the problem. Let's accept that 1986 was also another fraud. You put people in the house, you put them under the barrel of the gun and say, rewrite the Constitution as I want it to actually be. Then you're telling us that you're boasting around. You see the 1986 Constitution, my knee on it, your knee on wet team. You should be ashamed of yourself. In fact, you should be justifying to people why your name is on that document, how you would have wished your name were not on it, but your name on it. And that's why you want to see history being corrected while you're still alive. We don't need to change clauses in the Constitution. We need to rewrite the entire Constitution. And don't ask me that it's difficult. Kenya did it. The Kenyans realized that their constitution was the colonial British constitution that they were still operating with. So you know what they did? They got together, put a national effort together, rewrote their entire constitution the Kenyan way, the way that represents the interests of majority of Kenyans. So we have an example. The whole constitution of Liberia needs to be rewritten. And the principles that inform that old constitution need to be done away with because it was wicked, it was discriminatory, it was suppressive, it was dishonest. Let's bring a real honest conversation about saying, what should a constitution of the Republic of Liberia look like? Whose interest shall it serve? What does that constitution, what should it mean to the man in Zogoi? What should it mean to the young girl in Tapeta? What should it mean to the old man in Plibo? What should it mean to the pape in Bogonima? What should it mean to my pape in Vonyama, in Fezabu, in Vezala? That's the type of conversation that we need to be having here. So take it away. I ask anybody, challenge me. When you're writing a constitution, you should be asking yourself, how does this protect the interests of the old man in it? Don't ask yourself, well, how does it protect the interests of all who want power? That's what we've done. And the disgrace and shame is that all of our legislators combined, some of them were even part of this process. They cannot admit, and they are the lawmakers able to write law. They cannot admit to us this miscarriage of justice on the Liberian people. They are still peddling it. But let's stop there and take some of our comments from our studio, and let's go ahead and read some of our comments here to see what some of our viewers are saying, so we can get you involved. And then later on, we will open the lines for some calls. Anthony Remio say, that's why whenever a native person became president, it's always a problem. Thank you, Anthony, for your contribution. Later on, we will open the lines. Those of you who might want to call. Darius L say, it's the same. The only difference is the name. That's true. If you think that lie, just Google it and read it. Joyce Chupisime, good to see you, my sister. She says, speak, original son of the land. Thank you, Joyce, for your contribution. Siata Townsend say, thank you for bringing this provocative topic of discussion. Listening carefully. Thank you, Siata, for actually joining in. Jimmy Eastman say, exactly. The Constitution has to be repaired. Thank you, Jimmy. Good to see you again. Kishner B. Laval says, did anyone tell you to throw them away? I'm not sure what you mean, Kitchener. You have to provide more context to your comment, but thank you for your contribution. Bello Comfort Williams said, indeed, Liberia was built on a lie. Thank you, Bello. Bello Comfort says, Williams says again, time to recreate Liberia based on the Liberian values and cultures and education. I agree with you, my sister. Thank you for your contribution. Later on, those of you who want to call, just hang in there. We'll open the line for you in a few minutes. James Davis says, American Constitution and direct copy. I think it is the American Constitution and direct copy. Thank you, James, for your contribution as well. Tipla Popo Pupo say, we all need to work together to make our country better. Couldn't agree more, Tipla. It will start with absolute honesty, admittance, and acknowledgement of who we are to build from there. And the solution is rewriting our entire constitution because it does not reflect the interests of our country. It does not reflect our values and who we are. We will open the lines. We'll put the numbers up soon if you want to call. The numbers are already there, 605-313-6004, and the code is there for you. Those of you who want to call, please pick up the phone and call, and we'll be happy to take your call. Anthony Remio say again, that's why whenever a native president became president, it's always a problem. Thank you, Anthony, for your contribution to the show. Now, so let's get down to it. The same thing we keep saying today, all of our Liberian people that call themselves experts, right? Y'all ask yourself, all your Liberian experts can only be expert when they get government job. How can you say you are an expert in health? You went to UCLA, you went to Harvard, you work in the American government, you work in this government. Then you go to Liberia, all your expertise, you say, all my expertise, I will highlight from the people that secret, when they not make me minister in the country here, will watch them die, even though I know how to save them. Then you're not expert. Who stopped you from opening your private clinic that can provide us the quality of healthcare services that our people ain't got to fly to Ghana for emergency? Can you imagine if anybody opened a healthcare center in Liberia, private? Think about how much money you will make. Because think about how much money people spend to go to Ghana for proper healthcare. Think about it. What did stop you? You say you're a health expert. But no, you say the only way the people make medicine on you that your expertise can only work when you get government job. And then when you get government job, you provide all the excuses. How the government are serious, they can't let you work. That the reason why you can't do that. For what reason? What kind of expert are you? Who the big mouth people? By the time they move from there, you come on Facebook to tell all the solution to Liberian problem, but none of y'all can implement anything. Then you say we might call your experts. No, man, I got no respect for any Liberian expert. I got nothing to show for it. No, you know the kind of expert that I got respect for? People like Mahmoud Johnson and what they pankana and turn it into body lotion and soap and implore Liberian people. That is an expert that should be made a lord. You know the type of expert that I got respect for? People like Brenda Brewer-Moore. Well, in spite of the difficulties and everything, and opening a reading room for Liberian children to have access to literacy. You know the kind of expert that I get respect for? People like Eric Wawa. That can say, since the Ministry of Education cannot be proper school facilities for our people, we will go for them. You know the type of expert that I get respect for? People like Armstrong Jabba that can say our people have to be buying rice from India to bring it in the country. We will go to our own soil and no agriculture. So I will grow rice. I will not tell people how to grow it. Myself will grow it so they can see it. Those are experts. No, you're running behind a bunch of big mouth people then who tell us they send 19 Chale Quinta. They know all the history of Liberia, but they can't read it on paper for us. They swear. When you write a history on paper, the only reason you're not writing it because you're lying. What kind of country there? All the history in people here, they're passing around bluffing that they know it. We are the author of the history of Liberia. We were sitting down there when history happened in the country here. Your young children are coming, you're not know nothing. Really? So we can critique it. And you are in a room when history was happening, who stop you from writing a book? You scale a book? You will even make money. No, but all of them stay chasing low-level government appointments. How can you say you expert? How can you say the government are mess? You smarter than A. You know all the solution to the problems. But you say the same government must employ you first. When you are a real expert and you know the type of solution, trust me, the government will not be able to afford you. What will happen when you opening a think tank? You say you are an economist. You can never tell how to solve Liberian economic problem. You say until they hire you. What kind of trouble is there? What did we do to you now? Why our crime? The small children that are graduating from university that then you're competing with for low-level jobs. Then you say you're expert. You're competing with a small child who was born doing a war. What you give chance to? But anyway, we'll take a break here and go to our phone lines so we can get some calls in here because the time is moving fast. So let's go to our phone lines. All right, folks, those are the numbers there. Do we have a caller there, Anthony? All right, looks like we don't have a caller yet, so that's fine. We will keep going. So yeah, I was just making a point. This whole point about your Liberian people, smart in your call conference, you go back to the same Chale Quintan economists, then the so-called economists. You go back to the same Chale Quintan people then. Do we have a caller? All right, folks, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. And the code there is 791-403 hash, or the number sign. So those of you who've been wanting to call, you've been texting, please go ahead and actually call. All right. So let's face the fact. Let's face the fact. This is the truth. That we need to be who we are. You stop running behind the so-called expert and so hustlers. Right? The people call themselves expert. They say they won't be in power. They in power and they complaining. You know what leadership is? Leadership is your ability to brainstorm and find the solutions in spite of all the challenges. That is real leadership. Leadership is not to be making beam off on Facebook. Everybody else might take your idea and implement it, but you yourself can't implement it. So your corner, the Liberian constitution here, that we keep making noise. It's one of the greatest injustices ever done to the Republic of Liberia, the Liberian constitution. It's time to call a spade a spade. It's time to confront those who put their name to it to tell us the truth. That it was written under the coercion, unless where they were part of the plot and they are still enjoying from it. Or you don't want your need to be on constitution, you want your need to be in history too? That's the reason why? Never in the history of Liberia, our almost 174-year existence, the Republic of Liberia, have we ever had a constitution written in the interest of the masses of the Liberian people. It's always been written to protect an elite class, whichever class it was at the time. Let's get some comments going on there from our viewers. Vahu Mende Man said, Leo, I know you meant Leo. Former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is evil. I am sedition, but I'm angry with President Weah refusing to audit former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her cabinet ministers. Thank you for your contribution. That's your point there. Thank you. Cyrus Doki say, Leo, start with getting rid of your last name Johnson. Otherwise, you sound like a hypocrite. So you see, Cyrus Doki, you're bringing it down to our names. Am I the first person you know that my name Johnson? We're not here about names. We're not here about that thing we can do. You want to come and contract conversation, and that's what we're here for. We're here for people who are Liberians and who are willing to do what it takes to be a Liberian, regardless of which cloth they are cut from. People who you call Congo are part of our history, so we accept them, we embrace them, even though you don't even know who I am and where I'm from. So do your homework, and then we have this conversation, my brother. Tipla Popo people say Ghanaians and Nigerians are doing great, but all Liberians do abroad is to run after government jobs in Liberia. Thank you for your contribution, Tipla. Kedrick W say we need to stop complaining and find answers, be the solution. I'm not complaining, Kedrick. I said we might rewrite the Liberian constitution. You hear that part? I said we might ask Amos Sawyer then, Pierre Brown Booth, and all the people who sent to please tell us the real story that happened there. How can you find answers when you don't know the real story? When people gossiping about it, oh, you tell us the story, then when we understand the problem, we can find a solution. Frank Ogonkanu Molba said, forget about his last name, but do you agree with what he's saying? Thank you for your contribution, Frank. No matter people there, some people just let to distract, but we'll continue. Tipla says, my brother, it was the Congo people that fixed that for themselves. Man, dear, not only the Congo people, our native people then took over too in 1980. Since they took over too, they fixed it for themselves. Today, you know who are the new elites? Our native brother and sister, and so not all Liberians have participated in the mess. Whether you Congo, the Congo people have some great patriots. The native people had, and both have some bad people as well. So you leave that thing. No more Congo people beneath. It's all Liberians have participated in this stuff from all stripes. Armstrong Jabba says the Constitution was written to protect few, not all Liberians. Couldn't agree with you more. Armstrong said we need a brand new Constitution with a new mindset and a new spirit and a new approach to who we are. Miata Dakina, good to see you, my sister. She says, what has last name got to do with what he's saying? Man, dear, don't worry about that. Miata, you tell man before going, not parable. Not walk, but no papa. Not but no so no well about where Kuwebo Kukalone my no I did I come a Liberia Kuwaikadu. So when you're asking for my last name, you might be worried about it. I am a Liberian citizen, and I embrace all Liberian citizens, regardless of your background, tribe or not tribal. There's some of our brothers and sisters who don't belong to any tribe because of their history. They are just as Liberians as everybody who belongs to a tribe. So let's keep the conversation going and forget about the other conversation. Cyrus Doki say you can't be preaching an Africanism and clinging to your European meme, bro. It's a contradiction. What do you call Africanism? What does that mean? I'm talking about Liberia. You can't tell me about Africanism. I'm speaking about what we need to do with our country, and now you're talking about Africanism. I don't know what that means. I'm talking about Liberia and our constitution and how we need to change it to make it better. So, I mean, I don't know what Africanism is. I'm talking Liberianism. Now what bother me the most, because I play my own team head, I play my own start head, I can lay claim to. So I'm talking Liberianism, and I'm saying Liberianism, our constitution needs to be rewritten. That's just the reality. I'll take my word for it. Read your constitution and see the reality, see whose interest is there to protect. That's the reason why only certain people are capable of going to court and suing people, because justice is for sale, right? Because the constitution you wrote or your constitution you photocopied was designed to serve the interests of people in the United States of America, where there's more economic prosperity, where more people have more ability to earn a living, earn money, and use their judicial system or their justice system. You copy it and bring it to a country like Liberia, where you impoverish majority of your population, so nobody can afford it. Nobody can afford it. Nobody can afford the Liberian constitutional justice system. Only a few people, that even lawyers, that's why you see the same lawyers that we've been having since 19 time. They all just keep recirculating. To even produce lawyers, that problem is too expensive. Majority of the people cannot afford it. They don't have the ability, they don't have the fund. So our country people, thank God for customary laws and traditional systems in Liberia. Can you imagine if it wasn't for customary laws? Because we even get enough police people to protect Monrovia. We don't get enough army people to guard all of our border points. So customary and traditional laws have kept the villages and remote places with law and order, only because they still cling and hold strong to their traditional system.
Hey, Leo, we have a caller. Jimmy Eastman is on the line.
Mr. Jimmy Eastman, welcome, sir. Let's take you there.
Well, hey, man, very, very heartfelt conversation. I hear you go with that. And it's something that is very important, because a constitution governs us. It sets our rights, the individual rights. It tells what divides, how power should be divided. It lays the foundation for how people are elected or to power. So it's very, very highly important. It establishes citizenship and all of that. So you would think it's most relevant, I mean, in our favor, to make it relevant to today. But the other day, when Ellen Johnson had a group of people try to amend the Constitution, they never revisited those critical points which you mentioned about citizenship. In fact, they wanted to first declare Liberia a Christian state. A person, the fallacy in that is a person is not Christian because they put it in writing. The person is Christian by the way they act and do. So there was no need to do that. But my question to you is, it's not that we don't think about these things, but why don't we actually do them? What do you think is holding us from making the hard choices and re-examining what we really want? Is it because of the divisiveness among us, or we cannot dialogue to come to one conclusion?
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I will jot your question down. I know we got all the callers. I'll take a few calls and then I will get to the questions together if you don't mind. But thank you for your question.
All right. Mr. George, go ahead. Emma George is on the line, Leo.
Go ahead, Emma George.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, what you're saying, I mean, part of it is true, because I think during trouble times, it was on a trouble that when they passed a law there in the Constitution that a woman, if a child is born of one parent, that child, so if the mother is not Liberian, that child is not a citizen of the country, except the father. Then at the age of 18, you can go and naturalize. But somebody mindset was meant, they put so many clauses in the Constitution to bar certain individuals from participating in the process in Liberia. And today, the same thing continues. If you look at it again today, look at our Constitution. It says the same thing today in 1986 Constitution, put in that same clause that if one of your parents is a Liberian at the age of 18, you must naturalize. It's not so you are not yet a citizen of that of Liberia. Those things were put there to prevent a portion of the citizenry not to participate in the political process. And so I think it's not the entire document that is wrong, but there are certain clauses we must look at to amend them to fit our prevailing circumstances today. So what you say is fine. Yeah, we have to look at so many clauses in the Constitution, but not everything is wrong. What sometimes is wrong is ourselves. I hate to use this word, what we call country or indigenous. We get to, they are in power today, but the very thing they complain about that was wrong, they are not even thinking about fixing it. Because once they are not in power,
all right.
It means that it doesn't apply to them again.
All right, thank you.
That is exactly what is happening. Because
thank you so much.
You can't blame one group of people at a time when you are not in power. You said they are doing the wrong thing. But when you get there, then you don't fix it and you are not even thinking about it.
Thank you.
Look at the war crime, this war crime some are advocating for. Don't you know the very legislature went and passed a bill to give to grant innocent to those people that participate in the war?
All right, sir.
Around that, what was the forum they had with the Liberian people at the time? But you have Prince Johnson and other people who are sitting there, who sit here today, went and put that document together to exonerate themselves from that very thing. The 1986 did it again. The PRC government went and put in that same clause again to grant them supremacy.
Thank you.
But this thing we're talking about is not one group of people.
Thank you so much.
In Liberia, and
yeah.
I always desire the law to suit them.
Thank you so much.
So many clauses that are in the document.
All right, sir. All right, bye, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. George. Thanks for your contribution. Let's take somebody here. Davis, go ahead. What's your last name, Davis? Davis. Hello. That caller is now listening. Let's go to the next caller, Mr. Jerome Gilman. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, a great show. I want the young man to give me his perspective on our judicial system that have been condemned around the world, and the statement made by Mr. Sherman when he was being tried, when he said, "I am like a fish. I am not afraid of water. Take me to the Supreme Court or the judicial system. I will be found not guilty." And I think an American expert wanted to know why there is only one law school in 200 years in the country, which in itself, it is not a law school, but a fraternity. They do not rule against each other. There is no competition in the country from different law schools, as it is here in the United States, where lawyers compete not only for their clients, but for their reputation, their institution from which they graduated. Could you give me an example or make a comment on address that? How can we actually put in place a credible judicial system that will be respectable around the world?
Thank you so much, Mr. Gilman. I will address that. Anthony, you wanted to maybe a few more, and then I can come to the questions and the comments.
Yes, let me get to this. Davis, are you paying attention now, Davis?
Emmanuel Taylor is here.
Yes, speak a little louder. Leo is listening. Go ahead.
Talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you, Davis. Go ahead. It's your time to speak.
No, I'm not David. I'm Emmanuel Taylor.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the number appear here, David Ernest. Maybe somebody had it. But go ahead. Speak a little louder.
Okay, Leo. Oh, thank you. My name is Emmanuel Taylor. I'm calling from Minnesota. the discussion on which you are basing your discussion today, the topic rather, very interesting for all Liberians to be a part of. I think that, as you say, Nidio, over and over, we cannot continue doing the same thing and expect to get results. If you take a survey, you ask all the so-called experts that you talk about, if you ask the last 5 ministers that have served in Minister of Transport or Minister of Post and Telecommunication, that they bring up what they did for the past 5 different ministers, what they did there. The same thing the first one did for present minister that they're doing the same motive when they're taking salary at the end of the month. Those are not our heroes. Those are not Jabba is our hero, or Armstrong Jabba. Those are the people we talk about we should call hero in Liberia. Those that come out and bring us stuff and say, we got to stop this problem. We cannot continue buying rice from India. Those are our heroes.
Thank you.
So thank you for the program. And
thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Well, Leo is busy here. Let me bring in.
Go ahead. Let's take the calls. Let's take them. I'm going to writing down.
Yeah. Mr. Armstrong Jamba, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Leo, how you doing, man?
Great to hear you, Armstrong. This is one of our heroes in Liberia, one of our experts that we're supposed to be giving a lordship.
So, Leo, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Hey, Armstrong, are you listening to it? Turn your monitor off. We're getting feedback from you. Go ahead.
All right, turn it off.
Go ahead now.
Okay, thank you very much. Leo, let me tell you something.
We're getting feedback from you. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, turn it off already.
Go ahead now.
Okay. So, Leo, let me tell you something about that country. Look, even the native boys, they will always tell you that the Congo people are the people who wrote the Constitution, and so therefore they are responsible for all those nonsense that happened in the country. But when those came to power, we know what happened. They wrote the Constitution, and even has to speak. All the boys in the house are all native. The entire government native. They speak against the Congo people, but they are appointing superintendents today in various counties. They speak against the Congo people, but they are sitting right there, and the very thing that the Congo people are doing, the same thing they are doing. They think, man, let me tell you the truth. These people have their own society in that country. Just a handful of people. They just wrote the Constitution for themselves and watch the rest of the people suffer.
Thank you, Armstrong.
We have to wake up as Liberians and see what we can do to go against these guys.
Thank you, Armstrong.
We need to rewrite the whole Constitution. We need a brand new Constitution that will stand for everyone. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so much, Armstrong. Thank you for your contributions. Much appreciated. Thank you for calling, Chief.
Okay, we have caller with phone number ending in 4658. It's your time to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Leo, my name is Teddy Lion Yakon from Fargo, North Dakota. Well, very imperative teaching from Leo today. It's very essential for we Liberians to pay attention to this kind of teaching. Well, my proposal is that in order for us to move forward, we have astute, lawmaker that was in the house, but she passed away now. Mona Cannon, young blood. She made a lot of proposals to this kind of a teaching, and I'm saying how to change the Constitution, rewrite our history, to go back to our values. So if some of the proposals she made or any bill that she passed, if we can revisit them, and we can move from there.
All right, sir.
We can move from there.
All right.
Because the Liberian people don't respect those people, certain people that have been in Liberian society, more especially among the native, that have been fighting for the freedom of the native people, and some of our own native brothers from the west, from the north, from other parts of Liberia, you know, they're supposed to pay give some sort of respect, but they don't do that. You know, I'm a crew man. My crew people being the vanguard, always fighting to free the country people over all these things.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Our brothers from like other counties, they allow the Congo people to control them, and they come back and fight us back on all these things.
All right.
So I would just like to stop there, but I'm not trying to become a crew man, but people should remember the crew people, they're in the vanguard fighting against colonial masters because of all these things.
Thank you.
But now the Congo people have passed dollar laws that are affecting we the countrymen today, and now affecting every one of us.
Thank you.
I will stop there.
All right, Leo, that will do it for callers. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. We'll try to get through quickly as much as I can. So the first question was from Jimmy Eastman about what is holding us back from doing what we got to do in terms of dealing with these problems. And let me say this to that, Jimmy. Nothing is holding us back. The miseducation is our problem. We've been continuously lied to, so we ourselves have not even acknowledged the urgency of the moment and the urgency of the matter, because we've always been told that, oh, the law is, everything's great. People will tell you, Liberia got good laws on the book. The only problem, we can't implement it, right? Liberia got good laws. We only need a good leader to come and implement it. No, Liberia does not have good laws, because the laws that were written were not written in the interest of every Liberian. It was written in the interest of an elite few. So it's not about something holding us back. This is why some of us have come up to start talking. We need to start educating not only ourselves, but educating people within our spheres of influence and giving them the urgency of the situation. That's where it starts. And another thing we need to do is to acknowledge and accept who we are. But the problem with us, we always talk about ourselves in comparison to other people. We don't talk about ourselves based on our aspirations. We don't talk about ourselves based on what we need to do to develop our culture. We don't talk about ourselves based on what we need to do to develop our traditional systems, empower them, and make them better. We don't talk about what we need to do to re-examine our own story and where we are. We don't talk about what we need to do to take another look of whatever history of ourselves is floating outside there. Some of them are lies, some of them. We do not confront people. Like I said to you, signatories to the 1986 constitutions are passing around today and boasting. And none of us have the balls to correct it. Those of us who know the truth, to say, you know what, we appreciate it, but the truth is there was a horrific mistake with that constitution. It was written under the barrels of the gun. We need to correct it. So Jimmy, to answer your question, I think that's where we need to start. All of us, we have a responsibility to not just educate ourselves, but to educate people within our spheres of influence, and to start being critical of the people who pass around today and consider themselves lords over us, and dealing with the matter from there. The second piece was from Pa Amon George, who said he thinks there should be amendments made and not the whole constitution changed because some things in it are great. Pa George, I will put it to you this way. When an orange get infected with the maggots, and the orange in the first place were not even for you, they only lied to you to say it was for you, and then now you got maggot inside it, get rid of the whole orange. Play your own orange. Because you know what, when you plant your own orange, you will understand how you planted it, you will understand how you water it, you will understand how it grew, you will sweat in taking good care of it. When you harvest it, when you start to eat it, you will enjoy it. It will be sweeter than any other orange anybody gave you, because you planted, you grew, you took care of this. So why should we take all the effort on passing a constitution that was written on fraudulent grounds to begin with? Why can we not? Because you know what? The spirit behind everything is more important. People can say the spirit of the law. The spirit of that constitution was not to serve the best interest of the young child in Banga, was not to serve the interest of the old man in Plibo, was not to serve the interest of the Papa in Zwedru, was not to serve the interest of the old man in Vezala or in Fizebo or in Zozo. It was supposed to serve the interest of an elite few people who took power and wanted to kind of entrench themselves in power. So no, we should not be playing around talking about we are amending it, because the Constitution is interconnected. We need to take a new look, build a new foundation so that the spirit of the Constitution can be serving the best interest of all Liberians, regardless of whether you live in Monrovia, regardless of whether you got PhD, or regardless of whether you're just making your live farm to feed your family in Palupuken or in Joploken. That's why they should be. So I don't think we should be wasting our time on amendments. You will spend the next 50 years amending every single one. Why not we just give ourselves an opportunity to do it right for the first time in 174 years? So that's my answer to that question. And then we had Mr. Gilman, who asked about the judicial system. And he mentioned a comment from Senator Vanny Sherman, but mostly he talked about the issue of having one law school in the country and why up to this day we still have that. I will tell you why, Mr. Gilman. The issue is very simple. Because we've built a system that only represents the interests of 20 people, or I mean, less than 20% of the population. So as a result, nobody needs to build more law school because only them and their children will ever make it to law school. And a few other people who manage to penetrate and get in that class will go. So because of that, let's be honest, the current structure of our judicial system, where you go in Zozo. So you'll be telling our people to dismiss the traditional laws, the customary laws that we say is also okay. You're asking them to do away with it, to bring another strange law to replace it, instead of educating them on what the intersection is between our formal judicial system and our traditional judicial system. So there is no need. They don't have a need. They don't see an importance of building more law schools because they need to protect. Remember, they are trying to control. Less than 20% of our population have an interest in consistently controlling it. And let me put it this way. I don't know what was in Senator Vanny Sherman's mind when he was saying, take me to court at McFish. I will survive. I'll be proven not guilty. But in what I can deduce based on my own little understanding of my life in Liberia is that I'll tell you, certain people in our country are more powerful than the judicial system. So what are you going to get them to? Because the judicial system is run by their subjects. Right? There are certain people in the country that will never go against certain people regardless of what you do. So you have a judicial system that upholds a constitution that was meant to protect the interests of less than 20% of the population. So when anybody within that 20% ends up in our court, what do you expect? That they will be proven guilty? No. They will not be proven guilty. Because that 20% interest, that what the Constitution was written to protect, they know that. So they understand how to manipulate it. They understand how to use it to make sure that they will not be found guilty. Right? It's simple. If you write something purposely to protect my interest, and I know that well, I know it, I understand it, I know how to deal with it. So because of that, they're not afraid. Certain people are not afraid of court in Liberia. You're wasting your time. Because they understand how the system can protect them so well that they will drag you all in the mud on you, the victim. You will end up coming from the court with your hands on your head. That is the reason why when even the Supreme Court takes a decision and interpret the law, you would think that it should be so crystal clear that even the ordinary old man in the market should understand it. No. When the Supreme Court takes a decision on something, it gets so confusing that even the lawyers in the country can begin to understand what it really meant. They are all debating among themselves. Louis Arthur Graham School of Law says customary law is offered there, but you know what they did? They offer it as an elective. That means it's optional. So all the lawyers that go to school in Liberia don't know customary law because they don't need to take it. But the Constitution of Liberia says customary law, which is our traditional system, is legal in Liberia. So let me say it again, with all boldness and straight face looking at all of you. The country devil has legal jurisdiction in Liberia. The sooner we can accept it and try to look into it deeper and figure out how it's supposed to make sense, the better. Let me take the last issue here. I will close up here, wrap up my day here. We're already over time by saying two things. Our Constitution, our 174 years of existence, our Constitution was always written and designed to exclude the majority and protect the minority. We have an opportunity for the first time in 174 years to write a Constitution to protect the interests of everybody, and not just a minority group. Another thing I will say, you stop peddling this Congo and native argument. It makes no sense anymore. Anybody who is a Liberian, the people who came are children of settlers and people who came in the 1800s, they are also Liberians, unless they decide not to be. So we are all the same. We all have done injustice to our country. Even the people who were always there and the people who came back to Africa, we've all done injustice to the country. So don't give me the Congo and native men. I care less. What I want to know, the question you should be asking, who are you? Are you a Liberian? If you are a Liberian, then I know the standard to hold you accountable by. And if you say you are not a Liberian, then I also know what standards to hold you by. Stop asking people, identifying people as Congo and native. It does not exist. That thing doesn't exist anymore. It's that whole thing about Congo is a backward mentality of people who thought the mentality from the slave plantations was the way of life. We've crossed that stage in our history. No more should we destroy ourselves by dividing ourselves. No more Congo and Native. My question to you will be, are you a Liberian? I care less what your last name is and where you come from. If you are a Liberian, we will hold you accountable to making sure Liberia is successful. We will take some more comments, the final comments, and then we will wrap up the show for today. So Peter Siawe said, Mr. Moderator, you are very right. The Liberian Constitution only favor few. The Constitution needs to be rewritten. Thank you, Peter. Tahir Mohammed says, my brother, I am a victim of that kind of written book called Liberian Constitution. It's so sad. Thank you for your contribution, Tahir. Marilyn Joa says, almost everything is for sale in Liberia, my dear, not only justice. Thank you for your contribution, Marilyn. Kobo Yasia says, Leo, hello, my brother. You are right. We need to change the Constitution so that everyone can have a fair share. And even the term of office should be reduced to 4 years. I believe you can do more in less time with the rightful leaders and people willing to make the sacrifices. Thank you for your contribution, Koboy. Member Deck says, the issues of Liberia is not the Constitution, but this unity and change of character from top to the lowest, government officials to citizens, not even like LIB, but Africa at large. My brother, member, all of that stuff is empowered by the Constitution. So I know how you fix all of that stuff and can fix the thing that's supposed to support it. But thank you for your contribution. Much appreciated. Comfort Henry says, the Constitution was photocopied in 1984 in Banga and money wasted. Thank you, Comfort, for your contribution. Dennis Koti say, we must applaud and appreciate Mr. Emmanuel Savage, who is currently standing up for justice and accountability in Liberia. Thank you for your contribution, Dennis. But we're talking about the Constitution here today. So we're not talking about war economic crimes. We can talk about that later. Comfort Henry say, the Masonic craft needs to be dissolved in Liberia because it is used in a justice system. Now, Comfort Henry, I'm one of the people, I don't talk about things I don't know about. I don't know about the Masonic craft. I don't peddle the gossip that people have said about it. And because I don't know about it, I will not speak about it. Dennis Koti, the Constitution was written based on directive by the slave masters who wanted to form a state away from America, where they would continue their wrongdoing against humanity. Mile Black, please Google and read a book about this subject written by a native Liberian woman and a husband. 10 African American Presidents by Faith Sternstein and Smith Sternstein. Thank you very much for your contribution, Dennis. Siata Townsend said, animal farm politics. Man, dear, I couldn't agree with you more, my dear sister. You're on fire today. Phils D. Vavi. Phils Vavi said, thank God I am back on FOL. Welcome back, Phils Vavi. I give it up to FOL for the opportunity here. Holip Sism says, teach. Thank you, Holip, for your contribution. Member Deck said, we need WhatsApp number next, please, brother, to participate. All right, we will work on that, member, but for now, this is what we have. But we will take your recommendation into consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, I will close again by saying two things to you. One, the Constitution of Liberia, since its founding in 1847, has always been about excluding the majority of our population and protecting the minority and their quest for wealth and power. And as a result, we may just have an opportunity for the first time in 174 years to correct that, to write a constitution that can protect the interests of majority of our population. The second thing, don't come to me with your Congo and Native debate. That debate died a long time ago. The question we should be asking ourselves, who are you? Are you a Liberian? And if your answer to that question is yes, you are a Liberian, then ask yourself, what does that mean? Ask yourself, what is my responsibility? Ask yourself, what can I do within my means? In spite of the corruption, in spite of the poverty, in spite of the injustice, in spite of the discrimination, in spite of the rape, in spite of the lies, in spite of the deceit, what can I do within my means? And that is the reason why my own movement I'm going to start is making sure the Constitution of Liberia is rewritten. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on Focus on Liberia on the Liberian Dream. It's been a great afternoon. I look forward to seeing you in another 2 weeks, and I will be back here with another topic that we can all share our ideas on. If you agree with me, thank you. If you don't agree with me, also thank you, and I hope you can dig deeper. I hope my comments today will provoke you more to dig deeper, even in your disagreement. Thank you, everybody. Have yourself a great week.
We are